OKC extended their winning streak to 5 games last night, and that 5-game winning streak includes wins against the #1 defense in the NBA in the Minnesota Timberwolves, the defending champions in the Denver Nuggets, and the Boston Celtics, who currently hold the best record in the NBA. This win streak has been a little bit of a coming out party for the Thunder, as they're showcasing what they're capable of as far as being both an elite defense and an elite offense. OKC is currently the best half-court offense in the NBA and the 4th best half-court defense in the NBA, making them one of only 5 teams in the league that currently rank top 10 in both. But what exactly has made OKC's offense so difficult for opposing defenses to slow down? And how has OKC been adapting to defenses throwing new things at them to try and force them into deviating from their game plan? We can find answers to a lot of those questions in last night's game against the Celtics. We know that OKC is going to drive, and they're going to drive a lot. They drive more than any other team in the NBA, as a matter of fact, and for good reason. They're shooting with the 3rd highest efficiency in the league off of drives on the highest driving volume in the league. Obviously, a huge part of that is going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the defensive attention that he commands, being able to create plenty of opportunities for OKC to score off of. Chet's going to come up and screen for Shai, and Porzingis is in drop coverage, which leaves Chet wide open up top to pop out and get the pass. Now, to Derek White's credit, he's going to make a pretty good recovery to close out on Chet, but Chet's going to start to break him down off the dribble so that he can get into this spin move going downhill, and he ultimately gets the fadeaway jumper to fall. On this play, Jrue Holiday is going to commit to fighting over the screen, giving Shai the go-ahead to get going downhill. Sam Hauser was already overplaying it, so he has to make a difficult recovery on the drive, and it forces Al Horford to come off of Isaiah Joe to provide that help. With Tatum stuck between covering the corner man on a potential kickout and helping stop the Shai drive, Isaiah Joe relocates to the perimeter, leaving him wide open for the spot-up 3 off of the drive. Here, OKC is going to run these corner pin downs, and Wiggins is going to feed Joe coming up off the screen from Chet. Isaiah Joe is going to get Chet the ball in the post so that they can run what's called a get action, where Joe's going to cut by him to get the handoff. But instead of giving the handoff to Joe, Chet's going to instead fake the handoff to try and attack the middle against Tatum, but the strong defense from Tatum forces the pickup. This puts OKC in a situation where they have 4 out on the perimeter, and Chet is the lone man inside the arc, which leaves really no resistance down low at the rim, with the defense having to stay home on shooters. This is going to allow Joe to capitalize by making a backdoor cut for Chet to find him for a wide open slam. Now, in the first quarter of this game, Shai played all 12 minutes. At the start of the second quarter, he's going to be on the bench, and you can immediately see the offensive philosophy shift from being pretty pick and roll / pick and pop and drive heavy to being a lot more movement based with some more off-ball screening happening. This possession starts out looking as though Micic might screen for Dort, but instead he's going to cut down to the weak side block. Chet's going to screen for Dort to move along the top of the key, and Dort gets it to Chet so that he can flow into a handoff with J-Dub. As he initiates the handoff, Micic is going to cut up from the low block, with Dort replacing where he was. What ends up happening is Tatum follows Dort, but Kornet stays to provide nail help on the pick and roll, despite Horford already being there, and it leaves Micic open to get the pass. Kornet closes out, and Micic leaves him behind on the attack, forcing Jrue to help at the nail, and he's going to kick it out to J-Dub, who's then wide open for 3. Early on in the second quarter, the Celtics made a pretty smart adjustment using the double big lineup of Porzingis and Kornet. And what it did was shut down a lot of the driving lanes in the middle of the floor that OKC likes to operate in. And most importantly, it kept Porzingis from getting in rotation on the perimeter and allowed him to focus primarily on anchoring the defense around the rim. In the 17 possessions where Kornet and Porzingis were on the floor during this game, OKC only scored 15 points, holding them to only 0.88 points per possession. OKC did end up countering the double big lineup. They made more of an emphasis to push the pace in transition, and this prevented Boston's defense from setting up and allowed them to keep Porzingis away from the middle of the floor so that they could get to the rim against less deterrence. They also put Chet back in and used him as a decoy on the weak side, allowing Case and Wallace to get the ISO against Kornet here. And then near the end of the second quarter, Porzingis was a lot less eager to come over and contest Shai at the rim, knowing that it was Chet out there spacing the floor in the corner. Another thing about the Celtics is that they have two extremely good screen navigators in Jrue Holiday and Derek White, and it makes it really difficult for opposing teams to get a ton of space to work with coming off of screens. OKC is a team that loves to attack downhill off of screens, but they actually add another layer to the equation. Shai is incredibly good at rejecting screens when he recognizes that the defense is overplaying him. He's going to set up with Chet here for this side pick and roll, but once Jrue takes a step towards the screen, he's going to use this in and out dribble to attack the middle of the floor, forcing Derek White to slide down to help stop the drive, and it leaves J-Dub open on the wing for the catch and shoot three. Here, they're going to load up for a pick and roll, and Shai rejects the screen and uses that ridiculous quick first step to attack the basket. The thing to notice is that OKC started keeping Aaron Wiggins down low in the dunker spot with Jaylen Brown on him, with Giddey spaced out to the corner with Porzingis on him. This creates the illusion that Brown is going to be there to provide help, keeping Porzingis away from the paint, and Shai faces significantly less resistance going up for the shot. When the defense starts to anticipate the screen rejection, angling to provide help on the drive, OKC has a go-to counter since Chet is able to just pop out to the perimeter for the easy pick and pop three. Boston was really starting to key in on the pick and roll game between Shai and Chet, with Porzingis shutting down drives before they could even start, and then here he recovers to Chet out on the perimeter. Still, there's the concern of Shai getting by Tatum in isolation, so Porzingis has to stay near the nail just in case of a blow-by, and it leaves Chet enough space to get the shot off when Shai draws the help at the nail. With 30 seconds left in the game, they had J-Dub bring the ball up the floor, and Shai is going to come as if he's going to screen, but he ghosts it, and what this does is force the switch, but more importantly, it gives J-Dub this bit of space between him and Tatum so that he can get some steam going downhill, forcing Tatum into backpedaling, and with Tatum trying to stay in front of him, J-Dub is just going to stop and pull up for the mid-range bucket, and it forced the Celtics to go to the intentional foul game, leading to OKC pulling out the win. In this game, OKC scored 122 points per 100 possessions in the half court against a Celtics team that's top 10 in half court defense. Even with the Celtics making big runs in the second quarter and the fourth quarter, the Thunder stuck to their process and trusted their scheme, and it paid off. And this was a Celtics team that was throwing a lot of stuff at them to try and slow down their offense. That double big lineup that I mentioned earlier that the Celtics were running with Kristaps Porzingis and Luke Kornet on the floor together, the Celtics have only used that two-man lineup in 3 other games this season. OKC's offense was putting so much pressure on them that Joe Mazzulla had to get as creative as possible to try and slow them down. And even though that lineup managed to slow them down for a little bit, OKC eventually found their footing and they were able to comfortably counter it. There's been plenty of talk lately about OKC making a trade for somebody like Lauri Markkanen. And don't get me wrong, I still think that would make them an insanely good team, even better than they already are. And there's definitely a balance between putting all your chips on the table and going for a championship when you feel like your window is closing. But I also don't think that the Thunder should be in any rush, because what we've seen so far and what they're doing with what they have right now might just be enough to get them where they need to be. Now, you can still be too patient and end up shooting yourself in the foot, but there's no need to rush, and unless you can get the exact guy that you want that you know is going to put you over the edge, then they should just sit tight until it makes sense to pull the trigger. Yes, they still have their weaknesses, and they still have moments where you remember just how young this team is, but given how competitive they've looked against some of the best teams in basketball over the last month, they might be even better than even some of the most optimistic preseason projections made them out to be. So do you guys think that OKC needs to make a trade? Do you think that they are finals contenders right now? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. If this is your first time visiting my channel, first of all, thank you so much for watching and sticking around this far. Second of all, if you want to see more like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. As always, huge thank you to my patrons for helping support the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.